And another question, sir, because I have read a few of your research paper, and yes, sir, you have a lot of technical tools to study, especially the stone of Angkor. Sometimes you have that big machine that drills, and then they,
drilling
draw
resistance.
the graph. Yes, draw the graph, immediately. And also you have something like a pipe that measure the water secretion from the stone. I mean, forgive me for my, I don't know a lot of technical.
The water uptake of the stone,
yes,
which
sir.
is different also at different varieties of the stone, yeah.
Yes, sir. So normally, when you work on project like this, I mean, do you have, for example, the prior knowledge to know which tool to use exactly? Or sometimes you just, throw things and then see what sticks to the wall? And, is there any success or failure along the way, sir?
Yeah, actually, of course, every monument is different.
Yes, sir.
So also, we have a systematic approach, which is always the same. What we have to do, we have to look at it, we have to make a documentation, we have to do some research, etc., to come to the point when we can say we can design the conservation concept, and then we have to test again which method is the best for the application, etc. But of course, due to the fact that the task, the monuments are different, the tasks are different, we have to select specific tools or research techniques. Of course, we have the experience that we select specific ones where we know this might give us a good information or a good result. Yeah? We don't just say, oh, we use everything what we can do and we apply and then we will see the outcome. No, we have a strategy. We know what due to our observation, due to the documentation, we know the problems, then we can select specific tools, techniques, etc. It's not only at the site, of course, with the Karsten pipe, what you mentioned, where we can measure the water uptake. You might understand, for example, what we had at Borobudur, which is a magmatic stone. It's much denser than the sandstone from Angkor. Yeah. The stucco is different from the sandstone. The brick is different from the stucco or from the sandstone, and all have specific values or varieties of values, for example, for this water uptake. And this water uptake is not only interesting to have a specific value to describe the material, but also for the conservation. For example, when we have to apply these consolidants, which we use, ethyl silicate, we know from the water uptake measurement how much we have to apply that the stone becomes consolidated.
Yes, sir.
So we select our techniques at the site. Yeah, we have non-destructive techniques, ultrasound technique as well. Yeah, but we have also the similar techniques in the lab. We have to do a lot of tests. The water absorption test, ultrasonic test in the lab on samples, strength tests, etc.
Yes, sir.
So we have a list of parameters which are important for the deterioration of the stone, but also important for the conservation. And we measure many of these parameters. Yeah? And then at the end, we will see when we do tests for mortars, when we do tests for consolidation, we try to adjust the values of the conservation intervention to the values of the unweathered or weathered stone parameter. That's why we have a lot of testing, etc. We have to know, for example, how is the composition of the sandstones. Yeah, we know Bantas Ray sandstone is quite different from Angkor Wat sandstone. The sandstone from the top of Takeo is different from both of the others. This we can see in a so-called thin section analysis, where we have small samples, which is polished on one side, glued on a glass plate, and then the whole piece is polished down to 30 micrometers. Very thin.
Micrometer.
Micrometer.
Okay.
30 thousandths millimeter. Yeah? And then the stone becomes transparent. The little stone slab becomes transparent, and then we can see the different minerals and their texture and structure and how they are combined together. And of course the composition, quartz, feldspars, mica, clay minerals, etc. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
And to enlarge even more, we have to go to the scanning electron microscope, yeah, where we can, we don't analyze the sample with light, we analyze the sample with electrons, and we can enlarge much more. So we see the smallest structures, yeah, in the stone, the pores, etc. And of course, this we also can use when we do consolidation tests, for example.
Yes, sir.
Then we can see in the electron microscope how our consolidant is connecting the grains, the sand grains again, and how this function as a stabilization. Yeah.
Yes, sir. But I mean, why do you need so many, let's say, criteria to look at the stone, sir? Because you want to minimize the error rate. I mean, as small as possible. Is that the objective of the research?
Main thing is to understand the stone itself, its behavior, the weathering process, what has changed during this process of weathering, yeah, and finally to adapt the conservation intervention, the materials, the methodology to the original. In former times, for example, during an intervention at Angkor Wat, they used a lot of cement.
Yes, sir.
The cement has different disadvantages, but especially on the sandstones from Angkor, which are quite soft. That's why the stonemasons or the artists could carve them so finely and so many small details, etc.
You cannot do that
where we can see the so-called apsaras with the jewelries and the necklace and the very fine hair strains, etc. This is due to the quality of this Angkor sandstone. So if I use cement, which is much harder, much stronger, which is nearly impermeable for water, it doesn't take up water. Yeah. So in this case, when it's raining and we have a big patch of cement, the cement doesn't take up the water, but the water runs off, and then the stone next to the cement gets additional water. Not the only one which is coming directly, but also which is flowing down from the cement. So this is what we try to really adapt our conservation materials, or the quality of the materials, mortars, etc., that they are very similar like the stone and not totally different. In former times, people said, oh, cement is very stable, this will last very long. But we know that on the contact, the sandstone deteriorates, due to the different quality of the cement.
Yes.
And another point is what we have to do. The materials we use have to be compatible with the...
Not the same, but compatible.
Compatible, yeah,
Yes,
very similar.
Very similar.
In its chemical composition as well. Yeah, that's why we use for the sandstone this ethyl silicate system, because the final product of the ethyl silicate is always SiO2, which is the main component of the sandstone. Quartz is SiO2. The cement has a totally different composition. Or what was also applied at the Angkor Wat, at the final treatment, we use for consolidant ethyl silicate, and it was used acrylic resin. This is an artificial resin which behaves totally different from the stone itself. And that's why it's dangerous. Yeah, we have experience with this, at Angkor Wat. So this is the main issue why we try to understand the sandstone or the stones in general through many different parameters, to measurements of different parameters, and then to try to adapt our conservation intervention. For the stucco, of course, it's not ethyl silicate, it's lime. Yeah, repair mortars for stucco are made for lime. We have tested for brick. There we can use both ethyl silicate or lime. Yeah, for the consolidation itself, in our opinion, and we are really convinced, the only possibility is ethyl silicate to consolidate. Yeah, because it's the only material which can penetrate into the sandstone, into the stucco, into the brick. Acrylic resin does not penetrate properly. Yeah?
Yes, sir. And all of this information will be valuable for future researchers and also future preservation, restoration.
Of course, this is what we publish. Yeah, and this is also in the documents we have. One day, maybe we should go to our office outside. We have meters of files where all the work is documented on the temples we have been working up to now. Yeah.
Yes, sir. But is there any technique that when you apply does not work the way you expected, sir? Are there many?
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't work properly. Yeah, we sometimes don't get the results we have expected. But this is normal, yeah, because the natural materials behave not always like our models think they should. Of course, there are sometimes disadvantages. But then you have to think about what is another possibility to approach this question and this aim. Yeah? And we know, for example, just now we are doing salt reduction. In former times, people told us, were saying, desalination means you have a monument and you can remove all the damaging salts which were accumulated due to, maybe here in Angkor, due to the bad deposits inside, which have components, chemical components, which can be diluted by water and then move into the stone. And then when they go from dilution to crystallization, when it's drying, when the dilutant is drying, then it crystallizes, and then these damaging salts make pressure in the pores of the stone, and they damage the stone. This is a huge problem at our temples in Angkor, especially on the towers where we have been in the lower part. I think we were talking about this. At the moment, we have a similar problem, or not at the moment, in general, at the brick towers. All the brick towers, they have the problem with the damaging salts from the bed deposits inside. So we do a lot of testing, but we know we will never be successful even when we have the best materials for, let's say, removing some of the salts, but we never will get it, the whole deep stone blocks.
It's so thick.
It's too much in there, and with these poultices, what we use, and there are not really other possibilities. If you have a sculptures, you can put it in a bath.
But you cannot put a big chunk of stone in the bath.
Yeah, you cannot put the temple, the Angkor Wat temple, in our office. We have a piece of the pedestal of the huge dancing Shiva from Prasat Graham in Kokher.
In Angkor Conservation, sir. Yeah.
No, this is now in our office. And there was a Naga head from the pedestal, which was handed over by Eric Boudreau from the FAO, who did the excavation there, to us, that we conserve this. And it was totally full of salts. Of course, there as well, the beds always were, the bed droppings were on this altar piece. And there we built a case, and then we could put the stone into water, then you take it out, then you put this around that really the salt is moving outwards, and then you have to put it again in the basin in demineralized water. You can measure the salt content, then how much of the salt from the stone was diluted in the basin, and you have to change again then the water in the basin. You have to dry the head outside, put it in. So we had for this head let's say around 15 to 20 cycles of watering, drying, watering, drying. And then we can say it's more or less desalinated. Yeah?
So it's a very tedious process.
It's a very, very intensive, long-lasting process. Yeah? And only with this process you can more or less guarantee that then it's salt-free. But it's not at the temples. Yeah? You might maybe know we still have winter in Europe. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
And in former times they used sodium chloride, salt you can eat,
yes,
yeah,
sodium chloride.
to put on the pathways on the road. That the sodium chloride, when it's with the liquid on the road, diminishes the temperature when the water is freezing. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So to make roads ice free, they put a lot of salt, and all this salt moved into the structure of the houses as well. So we have a lot of problems with salts in all our houses. Yeah, but this is also not possible to remove anymore. Yeah, so there is always action. Yeah, of the salts.
Yes, sir. So, because you have started your technical work in the 1980s, sir, and more or less you are, you can benefit from the technology, computation, or maybe advanced scanning or something like that. So, do you think your work, let's say in a way, it's I mean, do you feel like you are lucky to have this technology compared to the restorers or the preservators from the early 1900s or something like that, sir?
Yeah, actually, of course, no question. Yeah, that we really are in a time where we have a lot of increase in knowledge, and of course, the more technology, the more techniques, the more knowledge we have, the better our work can be. And of course, our knowledge is increasing, and better knowledge has better results for the preservation of the monuments, no question. Yeah, and
yes,
just one point, for example, now we have several colleagues and several students. We are still working in the quarries because there was a lot of work done by a Japanese Uchida, but nevertheless we don't know exactly the geology, the stratigraphy, and this is the base to justify what material is at the temple. Yeah, so we are working on this since several years. We have LiDAR. Yeah,
yes,
sir. You can see the geology much better out there than before. Yeah, the archaeologists use LiDAR. They use magnetic testing, radar testing of the underground. This is also a development which is not really old, yeah, and it improves, of course, the work of the different scientists and improves the knowledge about the site, for example, yeah.
Yes,
so this is the development of methodology of different digital techniques, etc. It's very helpful.